Land trusts or LLCs? Which entity is better to hold your investment property? This is my most favorite question that I get and that I love answering. Let's talk about it. Please keep in mind, this advice is limited to Florida and Florida law. I know that most states have a land trust statute, however, not all states do. So if you own property in a state other than Florida, check with an attorney licensed there. So a land trust has many benefits above and beyond what an LLC can provide you, at least here in Florida. However, most lawyers and even real estate lawyers are not familiar with land trusts and how they work, and so they don't recommend them because you know what? An LLC is easy. You can hop online and in 5 minutes type in some information and there you have an LLC. That's why it's recommended most often over land trusts. However, I don't think it's the best entity for you to hold your investment properties, your rental properties, your second homes, vacation homes, anything that's not your primary residence should be held in a land trust, and here's why. So the big reason is asset protection or liability protection, meaning if there were an injury that occurred on the property or you had a tenant in the property that sued you, they would have to sue the owner of the property. So we don't want the owner of the property to be you, your name, because if they sue you, they can access all of your assets, all your properties, your income, your bank accounts, everything. If your property is held in a land trust, they would have to sue the land trust or an LLC. And the only assets that they would have access to are the assets held by that land trust or LLC. That's what we mean when we talk about asset protection. Now, the asset protection for a land trust and an LLC is the same. If your asset is protected, it's protected. There's not asset protection that's stronger or better. However, with an LLC, you have a very big risk, especially if it's a single member LLC, of losing or waiving that asset protection by piercing the corporate veil or by not following the corporate formalities you're required to follow. With a land trust, you have no risk of losing that asset protection because it is not a corporate entity. There is no piercing the corporate veil because there is no corporate veil, and there are no corporate formalities that you have to follow. So even if you do it wrong, you commingle income and expenses with the property, from the property with your own income and expenses, it doesn't matter. With a land trust, you're still going to be protected. With an LLC, you're not. And most people do this wrong. So most people, again, go online and in 5 minutes create their LLC and they think they're protected, and they're not because they're not following the proper corporate formalities, they're commingling, and they don't have a proper operating agreement. So for that reason, in and of itself, land trusts are going to be superior because, again, you can do it wrong and you're not going to lose the protection. They're a lot more flexible or user-friendly than LLCs.